Let's talk about pink slips or being non-renewed. First of all, I'd like to start this video out by saying I have a stain right here, but I love this shirt and I don't want to throw it out, so I wear it when I have to take back tile to the Home Depot or I have to mow my lawn. I just wanted to say that because this is very distracting to me and it might be distracting to you. So this is my teacher talk. This is a series I'm doing on YouTube about things that educators go through. I would love for you to make comments and I would love for you to read the comments because I am not the end-all be-all. I'm only sharing you my experience, and my experience is not the only experience. So I want to open the door for conversations. Please make sure that you mark comments, share this with your colleagues, and read everybody else's comments because I'm not the end-all be-all. Somebody else might have a great answer. If you've not watched my video on how to have high-quality subs in your building, it's a great start out for my teacher talks. Go back and read that on what you can do to make sure that you have high-quality subs in your building. So let's talk about pink slips. I did a video about this because this is pink slip season. If you don't know what a pink slip is, it's just a non-renewal. So let me tell you how it works in the education world. I'm only talking about experience from Florida and Kentucky because this is the way the system works when I was there. Florida might have already changed. In Kentucky and in Florida when I was in there, you were non-tenured for 4 years. You get tenure, which is a guaranteed contract on day one of your 5th year. So for the first 4 years that you are teaching as a teacher in Kentucky, you are non-contract. You're not on contract. So in March or April, you get a contract, and it's either a continuing contract, which means they want you back next year, or a non-continuing contract, which means they don't have a place for you. And a non-continuing contract means it's a pink slip. You were getting a pink slip. We don't have a position for you in this school. That's the way it works for the first 4 years. It also works that way if you transfer in from another district. If we have a teacher that comes in that has 25 years, they come into Fayette County, their first year they are non-tenured and you cannot bring them back. But on day one of year 2, then that tenure comes back in and now they are a tenured teacher. So just to explain all that, there were a lot of parents, a lot of people that didn't know what I was saying when I was saying pink slip and didn't know what non-renewed was. So if you are a 1 to 4 year teacher, you get a contract in March or April, and they either say, we would like to have you coming back, a continuing contract, or a non-renewed contract, which means we are not renewing your contract for next year and you need to look for another job. So in that video, I talked about 3 things and I want to hit them real quickly. Number 1, if you were pink slipped, you're not alone. I was pink slipped 4 times, and all 4 times it was devastating. All 4 times there were logical reasons. It wasn't for cause. I don't feel like the principals didn't like me. There were logical reasons. It was still devastating. But I want you to know that if you're non-tenured, you're not alone. This happens to a lot of people. Number 2, you've still got 3 more months or 2 more months. You've got to hang in there. You've got to suck it up. Give yourself the weekend to cry and stress out. Get your resume ready. Talk to your friends about getting good references and then move on because you've still got to teach your classes. But biggest of all, most important, I believe, and maybe you don't, but I believe God has a plan for you and God has a plan for me. And sometimes the plan for me to be at school A is not what God wanted, and I needed to be at school B. And the way I got to school B was to be pink slipped. So just understand that God or the universe has a plan for you, and it might not be at your current school. It might not be in your current district. So let's talk about several different things. That's just for someone who's pink slipped. You're not alone. You got to keep going, and God has a plan for you, and you're going to land somewhere that's great, that's going to love you, and you're going to be supported. So if you're pink slipped, understand that. Now, if you're a staff member in a building and they are giving out pink slips, 2 things. First and foremost, support those teachers. It's very stressful. Encourage them, give them sympathy and empathy, offer them references, tell them that you understand, and support those people. But number 2, and just as important, be very careful about second guessing the principal's decisions. And here's why I say that. I know a lot of you are working for petty principals who fire people just because they don't like them, and they are being run by 4 or 5 bully teachers, and that's just the situation that you're in. But here's the deal. There's a lot of things that go into who's going to be pink slipped, and sometimes you don't have all the information. And so it's real easy for you to be mad that your principal non-renewed Miss Smith and not Miss Harrison because you thought Miss Harrison should stay and Miss Smith should go, or vice versa. But you might not know all the background behind what's going on. You also might not know those teachers other than you knowing them personally from eating lunch with them. Maybe you're on a grade level, but you don't know the other teachers. So just be real careful that you don't run around bad-mouthing the principal. Here is my suggestion. If you truly disagree with that, go into the principal and sit down and say, I don't want to be disrespectful. I just need to professionally have a conversation because I do not understand why you pink slipped this teacher and not that one. And they will tell you as best they can without giving up personal information why they made that decision. Have an open, honest conversation, but just be very careful that you don't get caught up in the drama of who the principal is actually pink slipping. Okay, principals. First and foremost, this should never be a surprise. Any staff that you bring in that is not tenured, those teachers that are 1 to 4 years experience, or a new teacher coming in from another district that's coming in without tenure, should know in March or April, I might have to pink slip you because I don't get my 100% staffing. This is the way staffing works. In my district, in all the districts that I've worked in March or April, you got your staffing for the next school year. And it was not 100% staffing. So if you're a school of 1,000, you only got staffing budget for 950 kids, which means you couldn't hire teachers to teach 1,000 kids. You only could hire teachers to teach 950 kids because the movement in our district, it could be that you don't have those 1,000 kids, and then they've given you a teacher that you don't need. So you only get staffed for 95%, which means you've got to pink slip a teacher because you're not getting 100% of the staff that you need for the next coming school year. 4 days into the school year, you get your 100% and you can hire a staff or hopefully just put the budget back where it was and pay for the teacher that you actually kept. So that's a reason. Teachers are often pink slipped because the districts are not giving 100% of what a principal needs to staff his building the next year. Your staff needs to know that. Everybody needs to know that in August. Anybody you hire needs to know that's a possibility. Now, you also need to have a conversation in February or January that pink slips are coming. We have some decisions to make. I have some decisions to make, and there will be pink slips in our building. It should not be a surprise because that causes problems. Now, if you have somebody that you are going to non-renew for cause, and when I say that, they are just not a fit at your school, that should also not be a surprise. You should have been working with them in September and October and December to let them know there are things that are going on that is not a good fit for your school so that they are not surprised when they are non-renewed or pink slipped. Here's what I did. I would just suggest it. In January, if I had somebody that I was seriously considering pink slipping, I would bring them in. And I would say, I want to let you know that we have pink slips coming up in March or April. And as I'm thinking right now, there is a good chance I will not bring you back. And here's why. As a parent, I have 3 kids, and I would not put any of my 3 kids in your classroom. And if I, as a principal, would not put my own personal kids in your classroom, then why would I put 25 other people's kids in your classroom? And here's the reason why I would not put any of my kids in your classroom. And then I list them, the reasons why I would not put them in their classroom. And let me tell you what, this has worked before where I've brought teachers in and said this, and they have changed. And I've said, I believe you're really harsh on kids. I don't believe that you come off as very caring. And none of my kids would do well in that situation. And as a principal, I want every teacher in my building to be loving and caring. And you are not coming across as that person. And guess what? The person that I'm thinking about in my mind completely changed from January until March. I kept her, and she ended up being an amazing teacher because I had that conversation with her. This should not be a surprise. If you don't want to bring someone back because they are not fitting well into your building, they are not doing what you need them to do, they are not meeting expectations, then they should know that in November, December, and January. And you should be saying, here are the expectations of the school. You are not meeting those expectations, so that it is not a surprise. Nobody should be surprised when a pink slip comes by. They should know that that was an option, that they should know that that was coming. And most of all, be very careful when you do this. This drives me crazy that our district does it the day before spring break, and we ruin everybody's spring break. Now, I realize what they say is it's better to do that than let people go on spring break and worry the entire spring break about their pink slips. but I just don't understand that timing. I don't get to choose when I do that. My district chooses it. I would choose to do it after spring break so everybody could go, not worry about it, and go from there. If you wanted to give a heads up to somebody, you could do that on your own, but be careful about timing, because timing is everything in these things also, and be very careful about timing with those. Pink slips are a part of the educational world. A principal has 4 years to look at a staff member, make sure that they fit in there. A teacher has 4 years to prove themselves, to do a great job. And then after 4 years, they get a continuing contract, and they cannot be let go. If they are let go from that school, they have to be given a guaranteed job in the district after 5 years. That's the way the system works. We can argue all you want about that. It's not fair. Principals don't use it right. I certainly understand that. Bottom line is that's the way it works. And non-renewals are part of the educational world. If you are non-renewed, hang in there. You're not alone. You still got 2 months, and know that God's got a plan for you. If you're a teacher, focus in on supporting the teachers that have been non-renewed, and know how stressful that is in their lives, and help them in any way you can. And be very careful about bad-mouthing the choices of the principal. That's creating negative climate and culture. If you feel that way, have a personal and private conversation with the principal. And if you're a principal, this should be a discussion you're having all year round. This should not be a surprise to anyone. They should know it. You should be working with people in your building that you have hired that are not meeting expectations. And if you are going to have to pink slip due to staffing, that should be something that they know when they come in on day one, that that's a possibility. Pink slips and non-renewal should not be a surprise for anyone. I would love for you to add in your comments, let everybody know how you got through this, how you as a teacher support your colleagues when they are pink slipped, what your school does, how they go about that, and be able to give as much encouragement to anyone who is being pink slipped or going through this process. Thanks for watching my teacher talk. Go back and watch my one on substitute teaching, and please share this with everybody.